Our anime start with a completely normal teenager named Subaru who is just grabbing some snacks at a convenience store. But suddenly his vision blurs with unbelievable hallucinations. But he brushes them off and continues walking through the aisles as if nothing is wrong, telling himself it must be exhaustion. However, the moment he steps outside, those same visions hit him again, sharper this time, and he thinks maybe he's just tired. Yet when he closes his eyes for a second and opens them again, everything around him has changed completely. At the same time, we see a girl racing across rooftops with unbelievable speed, smiling brightly as she looks at a royal insignia clutched tightly in her hand. While Subaru, who reads plenty of fantasy stories, quickly pieces together what might have happened and murmurs to himself that he must have been transported into some legendary kingdom. And judging by the people walking around, humans mixed with demi-humans living normal lives, it certainly feels real. Suddenly, he hears a child crying for help after falling into the road, and believing that people who get summoned to new worlds usually gain magical powers. He starts making dramatic gestures, expecting something amazing to happen, but nothing works, and just before things turn worse, a royal guard rushes in and saves the child at the last second. Subaru continues wandering until he reaches a vegetable vendor, but when he tries to buy something, the man refuses because Subaru's currency looks strange and useless. And no matter how much he pleads, he's rejected. So he leaves and keeps exploring, only to be thrown out of every place he enters until he stumbles and falls into water beneath a bridge. Then later sits alone on a quiet street, exhausted and confused because none of this makes sense. And when he checks his phone, of course there's no signal, and then without warning he senses someone behind him. Feels relieved thinking help has arrived, but his hope shatters when he realizes they are bandits, and one of them threatens to kill him unless he hands over everything he has. In that tense moment, a girl suddenly runs toward them at full speed, stumbles yet keeps going, while Subaru steadies himself, believing some hidden power must awaken inside him after being transported. So he charges at the bandits with all his strength and actually knocks two of them down. But when the third pulls out a weapon, Subaru freezes and begs for mercy. And just then, another girl arrives, ordering the bandits to return what they stole from her, leaving them confused because they swear they didn't steal anything, explaining that another girl ran past them earlier as if escaping and might be the thief. She considers chasing her, but decides Subaru needs help first, unleashing crystal-like magical attacks that injure the bandits. And when one tries to strike her, a small spirit cat appears and warns them that he'll destroy them if they move any closer, forcing the bandits to flee. She thanks Subaru, though still annoyed, and demands to know if he recognizes the thief, but he doesn't, and from sheer exhaustion, he collapses unconscious. After some time, he wakes up to find the girl and her spirit companion stayed beside him the entire time, and he thanks them deeply. She leaves, yet he quickly runs after her and offers to help recover her insignia. And though she hesitates at first, she agrees when he insists he remembers the thief's appearance. So they begin searching everywhere, Subaru even sketching a rough drawing and asking around. And after resting for a while, she asks his name. He introduces himself warmly and pets the spirit cat, learning his name is Puck. And when he asks hers, she pauses briefly before saying her name is Satella, which shocks Puck visibly, yet they continue searching. Along the way, she notices a lost little girl trembling with fear, tries to calm her but struggles. So Subaru steps in and performs small, magic-like tricks to cheer her up. And together they walk until the child spots her mother and runs into her arms. And deciding they should return to where the theft occurred, they head back to the same vegetable vendor who had rejected Subaru earlier, and he refuses again at first, unwilling to help without payment. But just then the little girl and her mother arrive, and when the vendor realizes they are his family and that Subaru and Satella saved his daughter, he becomes grateful and promises to answer their questions, eventually revealing the thief's name is Felt and that she lives in the slums. As the sun begins to set, Puck mentions he must return to his crystal before nightfall because he's tired. Satella tells him to rest, and Subaru and Satella continue alone, asking residents about Felt and learning that if she stole something, it would likely end up at a loot house where stolen goods are negotiated. Subaru decides to enter first with a lamp and begins exploring, noticing piles of stolen items. But then he sees blood on the floor and a body lying there, and before he can react, someone attacks him from behind, slashing his stomach and dropping him to the ground. And when Satella rushes in, he urges her to run, but she too is struck fatally. And Subaru, filled with horror, tries to help her, but darkness consumes him, and suddenly he finds himself back at the vegetable vendor again. Just like before, uninjured and confused, no wound on his stomach, remembering Satella and sprinting desperately to the loot house to save her. meeting the same bandits along the way who stare at him blankly, not understanding his anger as he shoves past them. Reaching the loot house, he gathers courage and knocks instead of barging in, and the same man he saw dead opens the door alive, leaving Subaru trembling as he asks if the man has been injured recently, which only makes the man laugh, and Subaru convinces himself maybe it was a nightmare, describing the insignia and asking if it's here. Learning new stolen goods will arrive, and whoever pays gets them. Though he has no money, so he offers rare items like noodles and chip from his world, astonishing the man. Subaru waits outside for Felt, and when she arrives, she doesn't recognize him. Yet he asks to buy the insignia. They enter together. She shows it, and he offers what he calls a magical device that can freeze time for a moment, his phone, taking their picture and amazing them. And when asked its value, the man declares it's worth more than the insignia, so Subaru believes he's won. But Felt explains another client requested the insignia, and whoever pays more gets it. And right then, someone knocks. Elsa arrives with more money, yet when the man compares values, he decides Subaru's device is worth more. And Subaru happily states he only wants the insignia to return it to its owner, shocking everyone, changing Elsa's expression instantly, and without hesitation, she attacks. Felt barely saving Subaru from her strike, while the loot house owner charges Elsa, but is killed, destruction erupting everywhere until Elsa overpowers Felt and then attacks Subaru, stabbing him in the stomach again, leaving him collapsing in agony as consciousness fades, and once more he wakes at the vegetable vendor, overwhelmed and collapsing, only to see Satella walking nearby, rushing toward her, shouting her name loudly, apologizing desperately for failing to protect her. But she turns furious, scolding him for calling her by the name of the jealous witch, shocking everyone nearby while Subaru stands confused, and as she walks away, Felt suddenly darts forward, snatches the insignia from her, and runs, Satella chasing her quickly, Subaru trying but failing to stop them, sprinting after them into a quiet alley where the same bandits appear again, irritating him that they won't leave him alone, and he prepares himself to face them once more. At first, it feels like Subaru is finally getting a grip on this strange world, but the peace never lasts, and the moment he thinks he can catch his breath, pain comes back like a shadow that refuses to leave. In the quiet alley, everything tightens again, and before he can even fully react, one of the bandits suddenly drives a dagger into him, and Subaru crashes to the ground from the burning pain as his bag slips from his hands and spills out. And in that same blurry second, he realizes his belongings are still there, just like before. The bandits panic and run off, and Subaru's vision fades as he loses consciousness. Then, as if the world itself rewinds, he wakes up again in front of the vegetable seller, and this time he asks him clearly if this is really their first meeting. But the seller looks confused and insists it is, making Subaru's heart sink as he stares around and finally understands the terrifying truth. Every time he dazes, time resets and drags him back to the same starting point. And for a moment, he thinks he could abuse this power. Use what he learns each loop, sell information, take advantage, live like a king in this kingdom, but then he remembers how Satella helped him even when she didn't know him at all, and that memory hits heavier than fear. So he decides he will protect her and stop the harm that keeps happening to her in every loop. He returns to the vendor and asks if any theft happened recently, and the man confirms it did. So Subaru rushes toward the loot house to catch Felt before she sells the insignia, and as always, the bandits appear again. But this time, Subaru doesn't play their game. He screams at the top of his lungs for the guards, and just as the bandits prepare to attack, a royal guard appears, a man the bandits instantly recognize, and their faces go pale because it's the great swordsman Reinhard. They tremble so hard they can barely move, and they run away at full speed before he even has to draw his sword. Subaru thanks him, the two introduce themselves properly, and Reinhard offers to help. So together they head for the poor district. And on the way, Subaru accidentally bumps into a young woman and panics because he thinks he offended her, but she notices his nervousness, ignores it, and keeps walking. They reach an old, shabby hut Subaru realizes must be Felt's, and he steps inside to look for her, but she returns right after and, thinking he's trying to rob her, attacks him immediately with a dagger without listening to a single word. Subaru desperately tries to explain he's not stealing, but Felt refuses to hear him and keeps attacking until the hut starts collapsing from the chaos, and she nearly finishes him. Yet the moment she understands he actually wants to buy the insignia, she stops. And when he shows her the phone and explains its value, her eyes change because even she can tell it's worth a fortune. Still, she doesn't fully trust him, so she orders him to meet her at Ram's place to negotiate. And Subaru agrees. On the way, he learns Felt is doing all of this because she wants to escape the poor district and live a better life. And that honesty stirs sympathy in him, because for all her roughness, she's just fighting for a future. They reach Ram, and Ram immediately recognizes the phone is incredibly valuable, and Subaru wants to finish the trade as fast as possible. But Felt refuses, saying she must hear the other buyer's offer first. And Subaru's patience starts cracking as he tries to convince her, yet she won't budge. So Subaru blurts out another excuse, saying he needs the insignia because he has to return to his own kingdom, hoping she'll finally agree. But she doesn't believe him, and right then someone knocks at the door. Subaru warns her not to open it, but Felt opens anyway, and they're shocked to see Satella standing there. She demands Felt return the insignia, and when Felt refuses, Satella's magic surges and violent crystal attacks form in the air, making Ram stare in disbelief as he asks what she is, and Satella says calmly that she is actually a half-elf. Felt's suspicion explodes, and she thinks Subaru set her up. But Subaru swears he didn't even know Satella would come. And then Subaru notices the flower the little girl gave earlier is still tucked in Satella's clothes, a tiny detail that proves she's the same kind-hearted person he remembers. And he tries to step in and calm everything down. But suddenly he sees Elsa's weapon, and his stomach turns because he knows what's coming. Puck appears quickly and blocks Elsa's deadly strike with magic, and Elsa reveals with chilling confidence that she will take the insignia, but only after she kills everyone in the room. Subaru's blood runs hot, and Puck launches a violent magical assault that tears the place apart and traps Elsa in a hard crystal prison, and for a second it looks like it worked, but then Elsa destroys the crystal like it's nothing and rushes forward at terrifying speed with her blades. Satella throws up a barrier, she and Puck keep firing magic, and Elsa keeps pushing through relentless, until Puck finally manages to pin her with one attack and Satella follows with a massive crystal blast. And for a heartbeat, everyone believes Elsa is finished. Yet she steps out completely unharmed. Puck begins to weaken and is forced to retreat back into his crystal, and Elsa instantly uses that opening and attacks Satella with full power, but Satella surrounds herself with powerful magic walls to defend, and Ram swings his huge weapon to stop Elsa, but he can't even touch her. Elsa kills him with a single strike. Felt freezes in shock. Elsa turns to finish her too, but Subaru throws himself in at the last second and saves Felt with pure courage. Then Satella attacks again with crystal shards, and Subaru begs Felt to run and save herself. Subaru grabs Ram's weapon and charges Elsa just to keep her away, and Felt finally escapes. Elsa hits Subaru with a brutal blow and he drops, but he forces himself up, stubbornly fighting even when his body screams, and Satella tries to help. But Elsa catches Subaru and is about to kill him, when suddenly the ceiling explodes. Subaru breaks free, and Reinhardt arrives like a miracle, commanding Elsa to surrender. Elsa only smiles and tries to kill him too. Subaru rushes to Satella and sees she's healing Ram's wound with magic, while Reinhardt stops Elsa's violent attack just by stomping the ground, wiping out the pressure like it was nothing. Then he draws an ordinary sword and faces her, and in one exchange, he knocks her weapon away. Subaru shouts a warning that she has another blade, and Reinhardt narrowly avoids it, but Elsa keeps attacking with insane speed. Subaru wonders if Reinhardt can really win, and Satella tells him once she finishes healing, Reinhardt can use his full power, and Reinhardt continues blocking every strike with calm skill, steady like a wall. The moment Satella is done, she tells Subaru he can release his power, and suddenly a magical aura erupts from Reinhardt. He gathers a new force into his sword, and with a single overwhelming slash, he destroys the area, and Elsa disappears completely. Subaru stands there stunned, then relief floods him because everyone is alive, and he thanks Reinhardt deeply, learning that Felt was the one who told Reinhardt where they were and that they were in danger. But then, without warning, Elsa bursts out from under the rubble and launches herself at Satella again, moving like a nightmare, and Subaru blocks the attack fast enough to save Satella, forcing Elsa to retreat and escape. Satella turns to Subaru, and Subaru, still glowing with the joy of having saved her, suddenly becomes serious and says he has a request in return for protecting her, and she finally admits her true name, Emilia. She thanks him again, and only then Subaru realizes he was stabbed in the stomach during the chaos, but the shock kept him from feeling it, and now the pain hits like a wave, his legs shaking as he collapses and loses consciousness. Later, Emilia tells Reinhardt she managed to heal Subaru's wound and that she will take him to her home until he recovers, and she checks on Felt, who is sitting beside Ram, surprising Felt with her kindness even after everything. Reinhard, however, is shocked by what he's seeing, and he grabs Felt roughly, telling Amelia that Felt must be arrested. Amelia tries to persuade him that she forgives Felt, but Reinhard insists, and Felt can't break free, so he uses sleeping magic on her and takes her away. The next day, Subaru wakes up in a luxurious room, and he notices something has changed. Then he realizes the terrifying pattern again. He has returned to the same point. Confused and restless, he opens a random door, and the instant it opens, an explosion hits him, and a girl yells at him to get out. But Subaru keeps firing questions, and she answers calmly. Yet the moment she touches him, a sharp pain tears through him. He drops to the floor, and within seconds, he passes out. Later, he wakes up in his room again and notices two maids nearby named Rem and Ram, and Amelia arrives, checking that he's okay. They then show Subaru around the mansion, and he is amazed by how huge it is. In the garden, Puck appears, thanking Subaru for saving Amelia, and then Rem and Ram arrive with a message that the master of the mansion, Roswal, is waiting. They enter a massive room, and Subaru meets Beatrice, who speaks rudely at first, but instantly brightens when she sees Puck, clearly close to him. And then a strange-looking man appears, introducing himself as Roswal, the lord of the mansion, leaving Subaru stunned. During dinner, Roswal asks Subaru why he appeared in such a strange way, and Subaru learns from him that the kingdom is in danger because the king has vanished, and preparations have begun to choose a new ruler, and Amelia is one of the candidates. Amelia explains that the insignia is a measure proving the candidate is worthy to rule, and Subaru gets frustrated that she lost something that important, and they still want her to become queen, but then he remembers he saved her and thinks he must be about to receive a huge reward. Roswal asks what Subaru wants, and everyone is shocked when Subaru requests something unexpected. He wants to work at the mansion. They agree, and in the dressing room, Rem and Ram prepare special work clothes for him. Then Ram shows him the mansion and the tasks he must do. At one point, he opens a room and Beatrice gets furious, snapping at him. And Subaru notices the room seems to change. So Ram explains Beatrice can teleport through doors, and when she disappears, no one can reach her. But Subaru somehow guesses where she is and opens a door, actually finding her. He asks about her job, and he learns she protects secret books belonging to Roswal. Then Ram leaves him, and Subaru is overwhelmed by how much he's expected to do. Nights pass with Subaru exhausted, and days roll on as he works with all his effort, suffering injuries again and again during his duties. Until one day in the garden, he watches Amelia practicing her magic, completely amazed, and afterward they talk about his work and his wounds. Amelia offers to heal them, but Subaru refuses proudly, saying they prove his effort, and then he asks if she would like to go out with him the next day. Amelia hesitates, then agrees, and Subaru returns to his room excited, eager to sleep so tomorrow comes faster. But the next morning, he wakes full of energy and is shocked to see Rem and Ram again, like it's the start of something, and then he notices the injuries on his hands are gone, and he can't understand why time has reset once more, and panic drives him as he runs out and bursts into Beatrice's room, desperate to find answers. For a moment, Subaru feels like he's running in circles inside a nightmare that only he remembers, and he's so exhausted that his pride breaks as he stumbles into Beatrice's room completely shaken, begging her to let him stay because he has nowhere else to breathe. But Beatrice smirks and complains that he never asked permission before barging in, and Subaru freezes, asking her in a trembling voice if he's entered her room before, and she snaps back that he did it just 4 hours ago, which throws Subaru even deeper into confusion because time has clearly reset again, while Beatrice somehow still remembers pieces of him. He starts thinking out loud, panicking about how the day rewound and why she's the only one who seems to notice. And then a stubborn fire rises in him. He decides he'll figure it out with his own eyes. So he runs into the garden and finds Amelia looking worried sick about him. But he forces a smile and reassures her he's fine, telling himself he'll repeat the same day again and again until he reaches the same end and finally understands what is killing him. Yet when he reaches the dressing room, Ram unexpectedly says they'll take his measurements another time, ruining the plan he tried to copy, and instead Ram starts teaching him their language from zero, reading and writing. Then Subaru works through every palace duty again, exactly like the day before. And at night it's Amelia who gently helps him study, her voice soft and patient, and Subaru can't hold back his feelings and blurts out that he wants her to go out with him. She hesitates, worried it might be dangerous for them, but when he insists with desperate sincerity, she agrees, and Subaru's chest fills with joy as she leaves. Alone in his room, he decides he won't sleep at all, believing that if he stays awake, the day can't repeat and he can finally go out with Amelia tomorrow. But no matter how hard he fights it, sleep crawls over him like a curse. And suddenly he jolts awake in terror, dizzy and weak, stumbling out of his room, barely able to stand. He tries to call for help, to beg anyone to hear him, yet the hall stays silent. And then, without warning, a brutal Udar slams into him, dropping him to the floor. He feels a horrifying snap, becomes convinced his arm is gone, and pain floods him so hard he can't even scream properly before everything blacks out. In the next instant, he wakes in his room again, shaking and shouting. Then he calms down when he sees his arm is fine, and he understands with cold certainty that the day has reset again. Rem and Ram stare at him, frightened by his sudden screaming, and Subaru apologizes quickly, then forces himself to act energetic as he starts the new day. But his mind is no longer innocent. He walks straight toward Beatrice's room again, thinking obsessively about the way he died and realizing someone must have murdered him. Beatrice treats him with the same irritation, telling him to leave, and Subaru's frustration boils over. Beatrice uses her magic to throw him out violently, and he crashes out the window in a humiliating tumble. Amelia finds him looking completely wrecked, and she asks Puck to clean him up, and Puck drops Subaru into a harsh, swirling water vortex that scrubs him like a spinning storm. After that, Subaru sits with Amelia in the garden, talking and spending time together, trying to feel normal, until Rem and Ram arrive and announce Roswal's return and the start of dinner. Subaru thinks he should change his reward plan, so he chooses to live as a guest in the mansion, deciding he'll quietly collect information, learn if he has enemies, and figure out who keeps killing him. He wanders through rooms but realizes he doesn't even know what clue he's searching for, while Roswal watches his strange movements with interest. Subaru begins serious language lessons, struggling badly, and when he asks Ram for help, she refuses coldly, so he runs back to Beatrice's room, and she's ready to kick him out before he even speaks. But he begs her to wait and asks if there is a type of magic that can kill humans. Beatrice tells him yes, but it's usually not magic alone. It's a curse, and only priests truly understand it. She also mentions another kind of death, like the one he felt from her yin magic when they first met, and Subaru flinches hard at the memory. Once he's sure Beatrice isn't the one who killed him, he asks if anyone else has that same power, and she says it's extremely rare and basically no one has it besides her and Puck. Subaru returns to his room and studies, and then Ram unexpectedly comes in and stays beside him while he reads. Subaru proudly tells her he can now read a children's book about dragons, and he shares a simple children's story from his own world. But Ram's expression turns sharp near the end, and she changes the subject, revealing that the story he mentioned is actually real here and that those creatures truly exist. Subaru tries to ask about the witch mentioned in the tale, but Ram refuses to answer and walks out, and Subaru continues reading until he sees the witch's name written plainly. The Jealous Witch, the same name that caused shock earlier. After some time, they all gather to say goodbye to Subaru because he announces he will move to live in the village. Amelia looks deeply worried, but he assures her he'll be fine, and Roswal also appears, and Subaru realizes Roswal has basically bribed him to stay quiet about whatever he noticed in the mansion. Subaru thanks Rem and Ram sincerely too, then begins walking away as Amelia escorts him, and the moment he is far enough from the mansion, he suddenly changes direction and heads into the forest instead, moving fast and quietly until he reaches a mountain where he can see the entire mansion from above. He waits there like bait, determined to let the killer appear, and as the sun falls towards sunset, his body starts to tire, and then, without warning, a massive chained weapon slams into him with crushing force, knocking him off the mountain. He survives only because he tied himself with a rope, which catches him mid-fall, and trembling with adrenaline, he cuts the rope and sprints through the woods as fast as he can until he hits a dead end. With nowhere left, he turns around and decides to face it head-on, and another heavy strike comes from the forest, but he narrowly dodges, then grabs and yanks the chain hard to pull its owner into view. And Subaru's blood turns to ice when Rem steps out of the trees. He realizes Rem is the one trying to kill him, and he asks in terror why she wants him dead. Rem answers coldly that he is suspicious and she doesn't trust him. Subaru yells at her, tries to run, but Rem's weapon strikes him and he falls. And shockingly, she heals his wound just enough so he can talk, because she wants answers before she finishes him. She demands to know if he's working for Amelia's political rivals, and even though Subaru tells the truth, Rem strikes him again, and Subaru breaks inside because he can't explain his real situation. He can't tell her the looping deaths, the memories, the resets, and in the end, Rem kills him. He wakes up back in the mansion room again, and the moment he sees Rem and Ram, he trembles uncontrollably, and when Amelia comes to check on him, his sadness is so obvious that he decides to tell her honestly what has been happening to him. But the instant he tries, time itself freezes. A vicious dark aura rises around him, and he feels like an unseen hand is squeezing his throat and trying to kill him, forcing him to stop with horror carved into his face. He understands it's like a curse that prevents him from speaking about it to anyone, and because he doesn't know what else to die from, he asks Amelia to leave him alone. He lies in bed thinking that if he dies again in the mansion, maybe that death will be the last one. Then Beatrice enters, disgusted by his miserable look, and though she apologizes for being harsh, she still acts the same. But before she leaves, Subaru asks her for a favor. She refuses at first, then agrees because he helped Puck, her close friend. Subaru begs her to protect him from death until the 4th day passes, the day he always dies. So Beatrice takes his hand and promises to keep him safe. He wakes the next day inside the Forbidden Library, realizing Beatrice moved him there while he slept because it's the safest place she can guard, and Subaru spends his time reading, and then Beatrice suddenly receives a summon. She uses her power to teleport away, and Subaru opens the door and is stunned to see the sun of the 4th day has already risen while he is still alive. Amelia rushes to him looking terrified and pulls him back into the mansion, and Subaru's shock deepens when he learns Rem is dead. He tries to go to her, but Ram screams at him, her suspicion burning, and while they speak, they mention that Rem likely died because of a curse. They ask Roswal and Amelia if they know any explanation, and Subaru freezes, remembering the evil aura that attacked him when he tried to speak, and then Ram suddenly slashes his face in a fast strike, demanding to know what he's hiding. When Subaru stays silent, she attacks again, but in that moment, Beatrice appears and declares she promised to protect him. Roswal confirms Subaru was in the Forbidden Library the whole time, meaning he couldn't be responsible for Rem's death, and yet Subaru can feel everyone's eyes on him like knives, so he decides to leave the mansion. The moment he steps outside, Ram launches a violent attack that causes a huge explosion, but Subaru manages to escape and runs full speed into the forest, breathless, terrified, and still trapped inside a loop that keeps tightening around his neck. So friend, if you enjoy this epic anime and want next full part, so don't forget to like the video and subscribe.